Hey everyone, welcome back to White Sparrow Living, Luke 12:6. This is Wendy.
I'm her husband.
You didn't know I was going to say that. And this is Ozzy. So it's time to pick a winner for our Cricut giveaway, and I'm so excited. And we have our comment picker loaded and ready to go so that we can pick a name. So apparently all we need to do is push this button. Do you want to push that button, babe? Push that button. And I don't know if it's just getting the comments or if it's going to just give us a name really quick, but I'm really excited. Are you looking at yourself?
I don't know what's going on.
It's only on it's on 1,000 comments. I think we had something like 4,000 comments. So 4,200 entries. It's going through them, and so it's gathering all of the comments. And it also filters out duplicate users, so that's really cool. This light always makes my eyes water. Maybe I should have pushed this a little earlier. Do you have anything to say?
I'm getting a suntan.
Please hold. Okay, so there's another button we have to push here. So, okay, you want to push the big one that says start, babe? Well, no, we're not on it. I think you just ordered something. There, okay, now it's there. Okay, and so it's going, it's picking. I see all kinds of names going back and forth, and here it is. Who is it?
NAOMI Washburn.
NAOMI Washburn! Yay!
Does she say where she's from, or you don't know?
It doesn't say where she's from.
What did she win? I have no idea. Hope it's nothing of mine.
It's a Cricut cutting machine.
Oh, cool. I don't use those.
Yeah, I don't see where it says where she's from. She doesn't say where she's from. But Naomi, congratulations, and email me at mikewendy1290@gmail.com, and you will receive your Cricut ASAP in the mail. And so you just give us all of your information, and yeah, so congratulations.
Good job.
Okay, bye guys. For our first project, we're going to be using 4 of these 5x7 white Dollar Tree frames, an America sign that's in the 4th of July section, one of these organizer baskets, and this is the long one, some jumbo craft sticks or popsicle sticks, some regular burlap ribbon, and I ran out of this, so I also used some polka dot burlap ribbon, some floral styrofoam, some painter's tape, as well as some electrical tape. And then I have some white magnolias, and then some Waverly chalk paint in white and elephant, and then some Waverly wax in antique. We'll be using the Silhouette Cameo 3, so I'm going to have some white vinyl as well as the weeding tools and the transfer tape, and then my heat tool gun and my hot glue gun, my scissors, wire cutters, a chenille stem, and my ruler. And so the first thing we're going to do is open up our frames and take all the goodies out. We're going to be painting the glass portion, but the rest of it you can put aside for another project. I like to get the frames that are white so that I don't have to paint them. And then I'm going to take my America sign and take off the stickers. Sometimes the stickers will come off easily because it's that pressed board stuff, but if it doesn't, just use your hot glue gun and maybe a Cricut spatula or something that can just kind of scrape it off. And then the sticky residue, that usually comes off pretty easily. If it doesn't, you can use a sanding block to get it ready to paint. So now I'm just going to paint everything using my chalk paint in elephant, and I just painted my board and all 4 of the pieces of glass. I was going to turn this over and have the glass be what shows on top so that it's shiny on the top so that it would be like a window, but I decided since the board was in a certain finish because it was flatter that I just used the painted side to show on top when we replace the glass into our frames. But you'll see what I mean when we get there. And because when you're using chalk paint, you can sometimes see the stripes or the lines from the bristles of the brush, you want to go in the same direction on all 4 pieces of the glass. So now I'm going to put my frames together, and I'm using the jumbo craft sticks. So I just put some glue down on the back side and then put my stick on top of it. That way I don't have any glue in between the frames so that they're more flat against each other. And so I did that all the way down, and then when you have a spot that's not the full size of the popsicle stick, I just broke it in half and then cut one to make it all fit. And I did that going horizontally and vertically. And then, as you know, Dollar Tree frames usually aren't exactly the same size, so I just made sure that the very middle where all 4 frames meet together was perfectly straight, because I'm going to cover up a little bit of the top and the bottom, so if that's uneven, which it was, you won't notice that. So now I'm going to get my little basket ready, and so I just took off the tag, and then I'm going to take my plain burlap ribbon and feed that in and out through the bars of the little basket, and then that's going to cover up when I put my styrofoam in for my flowers. And I was going to use moss, but it ended up being where you couldn't even see it, so it worked out. And then at the back, because I had run out of the burlap ribbon, I just hot glued it to itself, and so it would stay in place, and it's going to be covered so you won't even notice that either. So now I'm going to take my styrofoam and cut it in thirds so that it'll fit into my basket. And I always keep an old knife as well as a tray handy so that when I'm cutting things that are messy, I can get that all in one place and throw it out once I'm done. And my styrofoam fit pretty tightly, so I didn't even have to glue that down. So now I'm going to take these magnolias, and they're not the greatest quality, but I thought I could make them look a little better by first pushing down the petals. And I looked up on Google to see what an actual magnolia looked like, and they didn't have the green in the middle. Some of them may, but I didn't see any. So I just pushed the petals down and then painted them with my white chalk paint, and then took some antique wax and just gave it a little bit of brown at the edges. And they looked a little more realistic, I think. So now to make this look like a window, I measured the width of the frame itself, and I made a 1-inch mark all the way around my rounded top, which will be part of the window. And so because this is a rounded surface, I'm going to use my electrical tape to mask that off so that I can paint that white and it'll look like one big window. My favorite part is always pulling off the tape, and I'm really surprised at how well electrical tape keeps the masking, and so you don't have any bleeding or anything, and it's a nice clean line. So now I'm going to measure how long the bottom part of my board is so that I can measure where the middle is, and then I'll make 2 sidebars that meet in the middle at the bottom and are 1 inch wide as well, so that it kind of looks like a window that you might see with the rounded top. So now using my Silhouette Cameo 3, I'm going to cut out some farm animals, and I just went on Google Images and found some farm animals. I used a cow, a pig, a lamb, and a rooster. And so there's a really neat feature that the Cameo has where you can trace out an image. So all I did was saved the image and then put it into my Silhouette suite and then pushed the icon that has trace, and then it will give you the outline of those shapes. So it's a pretty neat feature that I hadn't used before, but it worked out really cute. So all I'm doing is getting my shapes ready and then making sure that it releases from the transfer tape by pulling off the back, and then I just replace it, because now that my paint's dry and I'm going to put everything back together, I'll have these ready for when it's time. So now I'm just replacing my glass into the back, and this is where I decided to, instead of having the glass show on top and the shininess of it, that it would look better with the matte finish showing so that it matched the top part of my window. So then I just took my farm animals and got them into place, and then I used my squeegee to get them on there and then pulled up my transfer tape. And it's easier if you get a little bit of the sticky off by placing it on your flat surface or your jeans or something, so that there's a little bit of lint or something that just makes it a little bit easier to pull off. I get a lot of questions about this transfer tape, and it's actually shelf paper that's clear, and I get it at the Dollar Tree, and it's in the aisle where the dishes are and the other shelf paper. So I know there's all kinds of different brands out there. I haven't really tried that many since I found this, so I just think it's a really good buy, and it works really well. And it's really good to use it more than once, and just when you get done transferring an image or words, just place it back onto the backing paper and then you can use it again. And actually it gets better each time you use it because there's less sticky on there. So now that my decals are placed, I'm going to take the two bottom glass pieces out because I'm going to place my basket at the bottom, and I'm going to use a tie strap and feed it through the middle and attach it around the middle portion of the frames where they meet together. And so I just get it into place, and then I make sure that it's in the right place before I tighten it all the way, and then I'll cut off the excess nylon strap. And then I'm going to replace my glass pieces back into the frames and push those tabs over. So now I'm going to attach the top part of my window using my E6000 and my hot glue, and I just do a dotted line of the E6000 and then go in between that with my hot glue so that the two don't mix, and then I'll just place my frame in the position, and that covers the holes, but there's a little gap on each side, so you're just going to split the middle because we're going to cover that with a bow. So now I'm going to take my antique wax and just give all of the white areas a little bit of distressing by doing a light brushing, a dry brush using my little fan brush. And so I just do that on everywhere that's white, including my little farm animals. So now it's time to add my flowers, and so I'm just going to put my styrofoam into my little basket, and then I'm going to pull my petals back up, just kind of hold the middle and then push them back up, and they'll pop back into place. And then I'm going to cut those off and give it a little bit of stem so that I can adjust where I want them. I want them to be really low and nice and full down there so that you don't see the styrofoam and that it's not covering too much of the farm animals at the bottom. So now I'm going to make a bow, and I left a little bit of a longer tail at the beginning and then used the fold over method because this is one-sided ribbon and I only want the polka dots showing. And so I fold it over to get the middle, and then I'm going to make little slits on both sides, and that way my chenille stem will feed into that, and then you can make the loops move around more easily. I made the tails a little bit longer so that I could kind of camouflage where my top portion is a little bit longer than my window part itself, so that's going to cover it up a little bit. So now I'm fluffing out my loops, and you just want to move them around and just play with it until you get it into the placement that you want, and so that it's not flat but it's not out of control either. And then I just dovetailed my ends by folding it in half and then cutting at an angle. And so now I'm going to take my chenille stem and cut that off and then place it in the middle where I want it. And then I'm just going to use my hot glue to get that on there, and then I'm going to put dots of glue under the polka dots so that you can't see the hot glue, and then put it in place so that they stay on the side. And I made them 2 different lengths so that it looks a little asymmetrical because I think that's cute. And then to hang it, I just took another scrap piece of chenille stem and a little piece of ribbon and put some hot glue back there, tucked it in there, and then put my burlap over it, or whatever fabric, just something to cover up all the glue and keep it in place, and then that'll serve as your hanger. And so here it is all done, and I think it's really cute. And I would have used the regular burlap without the polka dots if I had more, but I think it came out really cute with the polka dots. So I should have even maybe changed the bottom burlap ribbon to the one with the polka dots, but I think it's super cute, and the gray and the white I think is always really pretty together. And even though these magnolias are not of the highest quality, we gave them a little makeover, and because there's so many bunched together, I think it looks good, and you can't tell that they were $1. So I love it, and I hope you guys like it too. For our next project, I'm using a Walmart cardboard box, and these were under $1. I think they were 97 cents each. And then a 6x9 canvas drop cloth from Walmart as well, and this was $9.97. And then from Dollar Tree, some nautical rope, and that was $1. And then some packing tape, and then my glue gun, scissors, a screwdriver, and a pencil. And so I mentioned in my last video that my daughter and I are redecorating my brother and my sister-in-law's living room. And so we're going to be using these. And so I thought I would just show you how we're making it. So I have some extra helpful hands, and this is Cadence, and she didn't know what I meant by holding it together. So anyway, this does take 2 people because you need 4 hands here. So I'm just going to build my box using my packing tape. Cadence is always in my craft room when I'm crafting. She loves to watch and help and say hi to everyone. So anyway, and her hands remind me of her other grandma Charlene. They look identical. So anyway, now I'm going to take my canvas drop cloth, and I'm only going to be using a little bit. I'm actually going to be making 4 of these boxes, so I'm just showing you one, but I opened this canvas and there's a really weird smell to it. I don't know what it is, but it's the same smell that those Dollar Tree off-white rugs have. I don't know what it is, if it's some kind of chemical or something, but anyway, I would recommend washing them before you do any projects with it. But anyway, so I just cut it down into strips, and then I started at the back center, and I just used my hot glue and rolled it over onto it so that it would be nice and flat, and then just went along all 4 sides. And in the back, I'm going to make a seam and fold it over so that it will have a finished edge. So now I just tucked the top part in so that I could do the bottom first, and I just wrapped it like you're wrapping a present. My glue gun broke right in the middle of this project, so I'm waiting for my other one to heat up. So I was being a little impatient, but I get a lot of questions about my hot glue guns, and the white one with the fine tip, I got that one at Walmart, and I think it was $8.88. And then my pink one I got from Amazon, and I will have those glue guns and different options in my Amazon store. So any of the tools or supplies that I'm using is going to be listed in my Amazon store. So that'll be in the description box below if there's something that you're looking for or you want to use in some of your projects. So then I took one piece and cut it out to size and just covered the entire bottom and got rid of some of the fraying of the threads, and then hot glued that onto the bottom of the box. So now I'm going to make the handle out of some nautical rope, and I just measured to where I wanted it and then made sure that it was the same on both sides. And then I'm going to use my screwdriver to poke a hole into the box and the fabric, and then I'll make it a little bit bigger by using a blade from my scissors and then doing kind of a cross. And then I'm going to take one of my paint brushes and stick the handle into it to make it even larger, and then I'm going to stick my nautical rope into that and then tie a knot on the back on both sides, and then that will be my handle. And these boxes are going to be going into a little cubby, so you won't see everything inside, and so that's why I didn't cover the entire inside portion. And so she doesn't know that, or they don't know that, because it's all going to be a surprise, and we'll have the reveal and the whole process. So I'm really excited about that. And here's how it came out, and even though this is not where it's going to actually go, I really love the looks of this, and that canvas I think is just such a beautiful texture, and this would be great for a linen closet to put sheets in or towels or something like that. I put this beaded garland that I made in a prior DIY on the box to stage it, but also to encourage you to pray for everything that's been going on and the horrific events that happened in Minneapolis and that's happening all across the country. And so prayer is so powerful. And of course, you hear me say all the time to be the light, and that's biblical, but light always overcomes and has victory over darkness. So I just encourage everyone right now to pray for our country. For our next project, we're going to be using 2 packages of these glass votive candle holders. And then I found some scrap wood out in the garage, and this is actually a part of a pallet that Michael J had broken down. And so I'm going to use this middle part and cut off the edges where it's notched. And I'm using my miter saw to do that. And I originally was going to inset these using a spade bit, but I decided afterwards there was really no reason, and I liked that it was a little bit higher up without being inset into the holes. So this is a super easy DIY using just the piece of wood from the pallet. And so I just used my rotary sander, and again, this will also be listed in my Amazon store. And so I just sanded around all of the edges to kind of make it look more rustic and used. And so I'm only going to be able to fit 5 of the votives because that was the longest piece I could find from the pallet wood that was this chunky. So I wanted to knock down some of the yellowy tint to this wood, so I just took my white chalk paint and I'm going to do a dry brush effect over the entire thing. I didn't want to hide any of the wood grain or any of the imperfections of the wood, and there were even some nail holes, and the nails are still in them, where when Michael J cuts it down, he uses his Sawzall and just cuts right through those nails. So I thought that was really pretty, and I thought that could be the front of my candle holder. So now I'm going to measure to get my center votive into the very middle by measuring on both sides and making sure that it's right smack in the middle. And I did go back and use E6000 because one of these popped off. I thought it would stay with just the hot glue because it was kind of porous and I thought it would get in all those nooks and crannies, but it didn't. So just make sure if you do something like this that you use your E6000. So then for the outsides, I measured in 1 inch and then put those 2 on, and then I was able to just kind of eyeball the other 2 so that they were all equidistant apart. And here it is all done, and as you could see, there was not a lot to this DIY, but this is going to go in the living room makeover we're doing as well. I went to Dollar Tree to get new votives for this, but I had these on hand and they didn't match, and some of them you can see are used, and I just thought that was a lot prettier just being all different. So I love the rusticness of this, and it would be a perfect centerpiece, and it was super simple, but I think it looks high end and I love it, and I hope you guys like it too. And now for this project, we're going to be using 2 of these tall, skinny tin buckets or planters, 2 of these super cute wooden medallions, just the chain and the hook from this welcome windmill sign, and then 1 of these tool hooks, and then just the jute twine off of an old bucket that I used in a prior DIY. And then some lamb's ear that I get from Walmart for $2 a bundle, and then some random cotton bowls that I had on hand. These are from Walmart, but the ones that I'm using actually were kind of already torn apart. Some white chalk paint and some wax in antique, and then some more chalk paint in ink, as well as my black Sharpie paint pen, a sanding block, and my drill. And I don't use the spade bit, I use a regular drill bit, and then my hot glue gun, some E6000, and my scissors. And so I'm going to get everything ready to paint all at the same time. So I just used my Cricut spatula to get the stickers off of the back, and then this one did have to be sanded to get the stickies off of the medallions. This is the side I'm going to use, and unfortunately I'm going to have to cover up those pretty flowers. So I'm going to take my antique wax and just cover the entire medallion, including the sides, and ultimately what I'm going to do is put these together so that it's one big chunky piece and it has a crease right in the middle. So we're making a pulley, a faux pulley, I guess. And so, you know, when I paint stuff that has sides, I always forget to paint the sides first because that makes it easier to hold, and then you don't get so messy. But I always forget, so do as I say, not as I do. And then just wipe it off with a paper towel, the excess wax on there. And then I went in with my white chalk paint to lighten up that brown, and then I blended that in with my paper towel. And then I'm going to go back in with some more brown and then some more whites in a vertical stripe-like fashion, and then just kind of kept blending and working with it so that it would look like a wood tone. And then I took my ink chalk paint and painted my hook thingy, and I painted on the inside as well, just in case there were any pieces showing through once I get it onto my medallions. So now I'm going to paint my tin cans, and to do that, I pulled off some of the jute twine so that I didn't have to worry about hitting it and getting paint on it. So I just made small little strokes vertically, no, that'd be horizontally, and then just went all the way around. One thing I like to do is to start on the back of whatever I'm working on so that I can see if I like the direction it's going, and if you mess up, it's in the back, so it doesn't matter. So I just did that all the way around and just kept adding, and then made the strokes a little bit longer and just got it to the place that I wanted it to be. Really, I just wanted to kind of knock down the shine, but I didn't want it to be a solid white. So I just kept going until I knew it was time to stop. And then once that was done, I just replaced my jute twine using my hot glue and just wrapped it back to where it was. So then I took my paint pen and made little ovals, and I just staggered them, and I want this to look like an olive bucket, and so I just did one whole line all the way around, and then on the next line I did my ovals in between the openings of the first line, and then just staggered it like that every other line, if that makes sense. So then I took my drill and drilled holes on each side, and I made sure that it was on the sides where the back would be towards the back and the sides were on the side. What? So now I'm going to feed some jute twine into the holes of my buckets and tie a knot on the inside so they don't come out, and that's going to be our little handle. And so I'm going to do the same thing on the other one, and I'll measure to make sure that they're both the same length. So now to assemble this cutie patootie pulley, I'm going to put some hot glue as well as some E6000 on the insides of my medallions and place those together. They both have holes, so you want to make sure that those line up so that you can get your jute twine through there. Ultimately, that's going to be what our chain is going to hang from. So I took my little hook thingy and pressed down to make sure that it was going to fit around the medallion perfectly, and then I took some jute twine and I'm going to hot glue that at the top and then kind of down the sides a little bit, and then I'm going to take another piece of jute twine and feed it through the hole at the top of the two medallions and then tie a knot, and then I'm going to take my hook and feed it through there so that it's going to have the hook at the top and then a little bit of jute twine and then the medallion. So then I took some more hot glue and put it on my little tool thingy, and then I'm going to place that over the rope or the jute twine and then onto my medallion. I had to do this twice because I kind of dropped it and there was a bunch of hot glue that got onto my medallion, so be careful when you're putting that into place. So now I'm just going to tie on my 2 buckets, and I just tied a knot and cut off the excess and then just made one taller than the other, and here it is all done. And I put my lamb's ear and my cotton in there, and I love how this turned out. I think it is so rustic and farmhouse looking, and these pulleys and olive buckets are always so expensive. So for $5 and some greenery, I think this is a really high-end looking piece, and I love it, and I hope you love it too. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment, and let me know what you think. Congratulations again to Naomi Washburn for winning the Cricut cutting machine, and so make sure you email me. I have another giveaway coming up pretty soon, and I'm really excited about that as well. So if you're not already subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And so I hope everyone has a blessed day, and remember to always be the light. Bye.